are having a good time. Were a lot of people yesterday in the Ray or in the exposition? Yeah, no headaches in this morning. It's still a long week, eh? Yeah. Yeah, the keynote will do another like practical stuff. Now I need to switch my head as organizer to drop solid for this session. And if the AV crew could put my screen on the screen, that'd be great. Awesome. So we're going to talk about a session that I submitted 2 years ago, open personalization with Apache Unomi in the GDPR era. GDPR is still in effect. It's maybe even more so today with the geopolitical stuff that's going on. But we're not going to make this very political. We're going to make this technical, okay? Some of you might have seen this session already in maybe online events, DrupalCon that was happening online last year. I changed it a bit. We're going to do some updates, but mainly I want you to be okay in asking questions as we go. Don't wait for the slide. Is there any question? All right, so I'll stop you if I really need to move forward, but it's okay to make this a bit interactive if you are okay with that. Now, who am I? I'm Nick Veenhoff. I'm the CTO of Drupal, and I'm also a member of the board of directors in the Drupal Association. Also, I've done in the Drupal world a lot in regards to the search ecosystem in the past, but today I don't know how to write code anymore. I'm sorry. Too much management stuff here and there, and then there's better developers and technical people today. But that doesn't mean that I don't have like a really big technical background. And also in the past, I worked at Acquia, and there I was responsible for Acquia Lift. Does anyone ever heard of Acquia Lift? Has anyone ever used it? Oh, one person. Yeah, at least one person that used my code at some point in time. Yeah. Yeah, so that's almost 10 years ago that I started in Acquia, almost 8 years ago that I started at Acquia Lift as an engineer, trying to figure out this personalization thing. And I'll explain a bit about this personalization thing, but maybe also as a question, like I suppose most of you are either developing websites or thinking out websites or calling digital experience platforms or what's in a name. But who has ever personalized a website? And it could mean anything. We'll talk about that later. So 4, 5, 7 people, 8. That's not a lot. It also is because it's like a very vague term. What does it even mean? Personalization. And then also the marketeer needs to figure out how to work with this. Well, who is on my website? How to make, oh, hi, Nick, or hi, whoever. And the screen just died. Okay. Okay. Anyway, I'll give you a short video intro on what it could mean, but this is from the perspective of Dropsolid, and then we'll go into a bit more generic approach. There we go. So let's fast forward a bit. So imagine you go to Google and you made this awesome website with lots of semantic information, RDF, whatnot, meta tags. You do audio and you say, okay, I want to buy flowers. You have a flower website, so you're looking for people that want to buy either flowers or workshops. This person comes on this website, it's fully anonymous, and she accepts the marketing cookies, or he, and takes a closer look at the website and say, okay, maybe I don't want to buy flowers yet, but I'm interested in your website. And yeah, maybe, I don't know what's happening with the screen. Does someone have like a Mac adapter? Maybe it's this thing. I'll continue for now. So just browsing around and trying to figure out like how to do all of this. It's going to this workshop. Ja, ik zal zien, merci. And browsing around. Now, today, if you make this kind of website, you probably don't know who this person is. And even in Google Analytics, the only thing, that's a little annoying. One One second. Hopefully this is better. Ah, that's not a great start of the day, eh? Yeah, so this person fills in this information, and today, if you look at the websites that you built, how much of this information do you know of this person? Wouldn't it be nice if you understand this person after filling in the email to your form is, and for example, Sophia, she visited all these pages, and even based on rules or maybe some intelligence, we know she's exploring the site. She's not interested in buying, but okay. And the next time the person visits the website, you know, she's exploring, and maybe the next conversion is actually a workshop. She wasn't interested in buying flowers, but it's more the workshop to see, okay, how can you get her more engaged? Still fully anonymous. There's no login, any of that stuff. So if you can make this in practice, yeah, that would be great. Obviously, to do all of this, you need a big enough user base to make this conversion optimization worthwhile. Are you familiar with these marketing terms of conversion optimization, all that stuff? Or who is not? One to a couple people. So imagine you're Bol.com or Amazon. What's your main goal? People purchasing stuff. So purchasing stuff, for example, is a conversion. The marketeer is basically tasked with how to make sure that many people visit the website and ultimately go into a conversion. What's the goal of all websites from all the companies that you build? It's conversion. It doesn't mean that there's necessarily purchase, but it could mean, okay, at least 3-4 minutes on the website. Are people informed? Are they frustrated when they leave? That could also mean like good conversions. If you're looking at government sites, if you go to the website of your city where you live, and after 1 or 2 minutes you're frustrated, that's not really good, and I wouldn't call that a good conversion in that sense. So that's a bit of the context that I wanted to give. And maybe also, this is a traditional flow on how many of us build websites today. It's a single page, and the entire world sees that same page. I would imagine many websites that you build are like this. But also, you don't know who visits the website, and you also don't know if that same person that has received the email is actually visiting those pages on the website. So you don't see like the entire overview. And maybe you say like, this is very fluffy. Like, I'm here for technical stuff. Maybe, can you make this a bit more concrete? Now, we did a case with the Odyssey, this university where you're at right now. And can you imagine who visits these websites or this website today? Like, if you would think in personas or in segments or even like different kinds of people, who do you think they target? Students? Who else? The people looking for a university, students, professors, parents, maybe parents. I haven't thought about that one, but that could be good. That's true. So there's actually more than just one type of people or type of persons, and then you can see there's like this information day, but it's kind of hard to say. Okay, I'm currently a student. Where should you go? So there's not just a single group persona or segment. And we did some use case with them based on an algorithm to figure out like who is actually visiting this site. And we could see that there's like lots of students looking for a new university or looking for a degree, which is on the left. Then on the right, you can see there's actually, or at least that's what we assumed. There's a lot of assumptions here. This is pure data analysis. People that are actually working already, and they're saying, screw my life, I'm gonna change my direction, I'm going to study again. This is a very different group of people than students that are 18. They also understand or they try to see different kinds of text or different kind of information. And then there's like people either working at Odyssey or students. Those are another group. Mainly the top two are very different. I think you can imagine that if you put some title on there for someone that's 18, that's different than someone that's actually 30 or 35 looking to change their course of direction. Um, we were able to detect these two segments and then maybe change some titles, change some wordings, change some pages, that kind of stuff. So that's also personalization. It doesn't have to be hi Nick or hi Tom or whatever, or hi Sophie. If you want to know more about that case, the university did a research study with not just themselves, but also many other websites. Not only the Drop Solid personalization stuff, so also many other tools out there in Start to Aim ebook. It's in Dutch, unfortunately. Now, let's move forward a bit. This kind of personalization thing is still a bit vague. So what are the challenges today in this privacy world? Do you like to be personalized, if I would ask you? Or would you like it? Some say yes. Or maybe like a poll. Who always clicks accept all cookies? Who clicks only marketing? It's almost nobody. Okay, we should remove that from all the websites, this middle option. And who clicks never, as in like, screw you, I don't want you to know anything about me. And who is annoyed with this pop-up? Yes, so it's very annoying. But it's a challenge. So we are in this world where there's this legislation. You have to ask, but there's no standard. Why are you here? Because we all decided more or less together that Drupal is somewhat a standard that we like, and that we collaborate on it together. Within this cookie world, there's no standard. And for the marketeers, it's annoying. For you as a visitor, it's annoying. For you as a developer, it's annoying. So hopefully at some point, we can collaborate together with browser standards and all of that for that cookie pop-up. But imagine you click yes. Because if you click no, then this case is entirely useless. Because you should not allow any of personalization. And if that company or the website does, file a complaint. They shouldn't. But it's a challenge. Who's online? If more and more people click no, you don't know who is online, you don't know what's happening, you cannot actually track them. Lack of visitor insight with that legislation. In the past, it was go crazy, the internet is chaos, and it's a wild west. It still is a bit. But within Europe, that's kind of tightening down. And challenge two, if you think about it, the company knows who you are if you click yes, but you don't usually know what they know about you. Have you ever tried to do a request for information, like, what do you know about me? You did? How did that go? Yeah, so they emailed you. You were lucky, they emailed you. Do you know you have a right to ask your information that the company knows? But it would also be nice to just have a website or even a standard, and there is actually a standard, where you say, okay, what do you know about me? And that page just tells you what this website knows about you. The tool that I will show you is capable of doing so. If you want to go really crazy, there's this new technology called Solid. Maybe you've heard of Solid, maybe you haven't. It's this open privacy vault where you can keep your data, but also decide when this company or this website can no longer use that specific piece of your data. Different topic, but very, very challenging. And then challenge three is like data infrastructure, as in like what's in a name. We all know website infrastructure. We don't quite know data infrastructure, how to work with all that data, with all that click behavior. We kind of assume Google Analytics does this for us, but you give it all away. And then maybe some of you decide I install Matomo, and then, okay, you keep it running, but you don't really do much with that data. It's not connected to your marketing automation tool, and like it's complicated. You have the website, there's the marketing automation, there's maybe this customer profiles, maybe there's a CRM. How do you connect all of these things? That's so challenging. So it's at the heart of what we build, and then now we go a little bit to the Gartner world or to the Forrester world. This is also called a digital experience platform if you want to like solve that challenge. Content management, market automation, and customer data platform. And you can like open source wise see Drupal. This could be filled in with Mautic, and this is still a challenge in today's world. There's no really good like fit it all tool with a UI. And the start, what we will talk about is Unomi. Unomi is an kind of a headless CDP. It's a Java application from the Apache Foundation, which allows you to like put a bunch of data in it to store customer profiles. Because maybe as a Drupal developer, if you want to store 100,000 profiles in Drupal, you would say, like, not on my website. I don't know about you, but it's tricky to do Drupal with end user profiles and content. Um, so I'll skip a bit here. Customer data platforms can help you just to collect all that stuff, and then to do some of that personalization. But yeah, this is maybe for another time. Now, what does that mean in practice, is personalization? If I would ask you what is personalization, what would you say? As in, like, how to implement personalization on the websites that you mentioned? What kind of personalization is that? It depends. Um, well, like as you see here, it also really depends. So you can have geolocation personalization. I'm from Belgium. I'm from the Netherlands. Um, you can even do some language changes because, for example, the word poepen means something very, very different in Belgium and Netherlands. Marketing campaigns indeed could also be useful to just target emails specifically to you because you know your history, or visit frequency. If you know you visited the website 10 times, maybe it's useful to ask, are you okay? Do you find it? Can we help you? Here's a phone number. That's also personalization. It doesn't have to be a name. Or device and system on the mobile phone versus the laptop, that kind of stuff. Those things are pretty easy, the crawl. And then you go into the walk, browsing behavior. If you click 4 or 5 times, maybe I detect that you're actually looking for this kind of workshop and change the entire website into workshops. If I detect that you're looking to buy something, I change the entire website into here are flower pieces. That's a bit more advanced. And amount of pages viewed, known information. You could buy data sets as someone identifies him or herself. There's lots of information that in theory you can buy. Be careful, pay only legal data sets and that kind of stuff. But also, for example, this is interesting in government or in other websites. The IP address where someone surfs from, you could actually detect if it's from the 3rd floor from a specific government building. And then you know what the job of that person is, more or less, or where this person comes from, and actually completely change the website based on that information of the IP address. And then completed events, did someone do the purchase already, etc. And then if you go really crazy, integrate it with your Microsoft Dynamics, CRM, whatever, cross-channel behavior on the mobile phone and on the laptop, and try to figure out how many devices this person has and make sure that the personalization is the same on the laptop as on the mobile phone, and a combination of above. If you get this question today with just Drupal, would you be able to make an estimation for this? Or who would be able to execute this? One person, 2 persons. And yeah, and maybe this is like a good challenge to have. If they ask this to Adobe or Sitecore or these big platforms, they say no problem. And we have this all because we have a digital experience platform and we can help you. And Drupal is in a little risk of saying we cannot do this because we're a CMS. That's not entirely true. You are actually fully empowered to do all of these things, but it just takes quite some effort to combine these different packages together. And then like a bunch of other stuff that you could do to explain what's the value of personalization to customers. The biggest risk that you have in personalization is the digital marketeer of your customer not understanding what he or she is doing. If that's the case, stop. Start with the website, stop with the website. If the digital marketeer is not able to think out these journeys or any of those things that I just explained, then it's going to be really difficult to make your customer successful. And then I'll put the slides later on online as well, but like what kind of data would you need to do all this, like all this personalization, this kind of data, basic customer data platform data, the consents, as in you also need to keep track of if someone agreed to get cookies. And then did you know that you're legally obliged to tell someone when he or she consented and to which category? And if I would ask you, are you doing so, and are you able to get that information? Are you? Are you? I see a couple people here. They're very confident. The rest of the room is less confident. I'm not taking you as a standard. Uh, if you can combine all of that in a customer data platform, either it's the open source version, Unomi, is it something else? There's also CookieBot and that stuff. But okay, imagine you use CookieBot, then you still need to use their APIs to understand when their consent was done, and then you want to show a page, what do you know all about me, and then combine it with data from maybe Mautic or some other marketing automation to just figure that customer profile. That challenge, that's what a customer data platform solves for you. Maybe you heard of segment.io. That's a customer data platform as well. It just like integrates with a bunch of things. But if you go to their website, they market themselves as a customer data platform. Okay, so you can also see, and it's similar to I want to be like Google. Your customer will not be like Netflix, most likely. Maybe they have deep pockets, and happy for you if they do. But don't try to do what they do. Keep it simple. Just, hi Nick, this is a personalized email. This is a good start. And then you can go a little further into that maturity curve. And this also helps if you deliver a website and have this as an optimization trajectory that you can keep doing like 2-3 years trajectory with that customer and keep on evolving on that website instead of saying, I'm gonna help you with the digital marketing, blah, blah, blah. It's kind of boring, I think. So meet Apache Unomi. This is the big blob from the Apache Unomi website. This is an open source customer data platform. It's built in Java. It's similar like Solr. Solr is also from the Apache Foundation. And the company behind Unomi, or you have like Drupal and a bunch of Acquia things behind it. There's Apache Unomi, and then the company behind it is Jahaya. Ever heard of Jahaya? Very silent room. Sorry, Jahaya on the live stream. They haven't heard of you. But they sell DXPs. You now heard of the term DXP. Yeah. So they actually have a CMS. I forgot the name, but it's a Java CMS that maybe you will know if you look it up or heard in this space. But they did a great job in making this open source. It has consent management. It actually has capabilities doing segmentation. It can keep all your customer profile data. It has some connections, etc., to other CRMs like Dynamics or etc. It also has a geolocation feature, as in if you know the IP address, you know where that person came from. So let's give a small demo, and just for the technical stuff, I'm just going to loop you or get you through the steps on how I did this setup. I'm not going to do the setup with you. I'll show you just the end result. But at least that you know, like, if you want to do this yourself, you could do so. Little disclaimer, Apache Unomi is, as I mentioned, headless. The demo that I'm showing uses Unomi, but Dropsolid implemented a UI on top of Apache Unomi. The ecosystem is still quite young. There is some, I think, React interface somewhere on GitHub, but it's very small community backed. It's not backed by Jahaya because Jahaya has a proprietary UI for Unomi. So this is a challenge. Now, how do you set it up? This is the steps that I do for this demo. Just download Drupal, and then there's 2 modules that you need. There's a Unomi module, and then there's like a plugin for authentication to the Dropsolid version of Unomi. But if you run Unomi locally, you can actually you have enough with only the first module. And then I do hacky stuff with Asset Injector because I didn't want to do a live demo with Google Tag Manager or Matomo or any of that stuff. Don't do this in production, this Asset Injector thing. And then, I don't know if you know this line. to start Drupal? Have you ever seen this line before? If you haven't, it's really cool for demos because it just starts a PHP server. You don't need MySQL. The only thing you need is PHP on your laptop. No Docker, nothing of that stuff. I'm not against Docker, but for demos, this is great. And then one other thing is that you have to disable the internal page cache module. Would you understand why? Or do you know what this thing does? Or who doesn't? Maybe that's easier. So everybody else has fully grasped what the internal page cache module does in Drupal? Or are you a little shy? No? Ever heard of varnish? I suppose most of you have heard of varnish. This is basically the mini varnish. If a URL gets called in the browser, Drupal stores the entire page in HTML in MySQL. If you have varnish, disable this please, because your database will become like annoyed with stuff that you already cached somewhere else anyway. Now, why are we disabling this? Is simply due to the fact that cache variations, this gets a little technical, with this module are kind of disabled other than the URL. So why is this important? Is because the Unomi module or this thing looks at the cookie value of knowing who are you, or at least like what is your segment? Are you interested in workshops, or are you interested in buying things? And if you don't disable this module, Drupal will say, screw you, cookie, I don't care. If you enable or disable this module, it will look at it and it will give you a different cache variation. Also, if you use varnish for this kind of stuff, you still need to disable this for the cache variation. And then it's fairly easy, just enable the two modules and then you can add the tracking script. This is the tracking script from the Drupal platform, but basically also in Unomi itself, there's a tracking script, but then you still have to host it somewhere. So that's why I'm not using it here. And then basically it's done. So this is the asset injector, don't do this. And configure connection, where's Unomi? This is similar to Solr or any of the other stuff. This is still a button. I know many of you do this with Drush, but this is a demo, so we do this with buttons. And then test this. Now I have here set up the Unomi website. The Unomi, Umami, all these things. And you can see that there's like a block here, and I want this block to be shown only to specific segments. Now, before I do this, let me just show you what the UI looks like. Okay. So this is the UI with directly data from Unomi. So Drupal is not doing anything special with this interface other than showing API call data to Unomi. How to use that GitHub repo or something else. But this is how we implemented this. And you can see there's a bunch of profiles coming in, and maybe more interesting, you can see that the IP geolocation is working. So we could now say, targeting people in Ukraine, we support you, or the reverse, you could do so as well. But this is like geolocation personalization that is fairly easy to do once you set that up. Now, if we take a look at how these segments work, there's a bunch of segments that you can add. Yeah, maybe just to take a look on how that looks like. And again, all of what I'm showing here is purely API calls to Unomi. So you can see there's a bunch of rules that you could do. And yeah, we could add a rule to say the location, the age, all of that stuff. This is a bit tricky to show, but I could, for example, do something very easy like the user agent. If you're Internet Explorer, then you empty the website. You could do that, This is also personalization. Maybe it's a bit malicious, but it might save you headaches. Yeah. But just to show you like what's the concept of making segments. Now, if we go back to our website, imagine we have this Internet Explorer segment, and saying if you're Internet Explorer, then I don't want you to see this block. Okay, so what I can do in Drupal itself is I can configure the block, and then you can see there's like conditions. Maybe you know in Drupal the conditions thing. There's a condition plugin for Unomi, and the exact same segments that come from Unomi. And again, also in Drupal, it goes to the Unomi API and asks what segments are there. And just yeah, imagine Flower Workshop campaign in your mind is I hate Internet Explorer, so we'll make that as a case. And we save that. So this block now is only shown to the Flower Workshop. Now, why are we still seeing this block? Is because I'm the admin, as in I'm the editor. I should be seeing all the blocks. Now, if we go to the website as an anonymous visitor, you can see if I refresh, I'm not seeing the block. Hooray. But I'm not using Internet Explorer. This is a demo, obviously, just to show you what that is. But as a digital marketeer, you also want to test these personalizations because you don't want to go to browser stack to install Internet Explorer just to figure out if your personalization is working. So there's a Chrome extension here to say how does this look like for this segment, and then you can see the block. That's it. And then everything else is combinable with whatever you're trying to do with that website. Unomi is not going to say what you need to do. This entire strategic thinking, or whatever you call it, that's the complex part. Solving it is actually not that hard. Also, from the perspective of Dropsolid, the hardest job that we have with this is convince customers, trying to figure out like what are you trying to do, is this right for you, and then saying, well, it's probably not right for you. Unfortunately for us, we have this technology, but it's not okay for you, or not yet. And then there's standards that ask, we want personalization, and you build a website, and after 3 years, it's okay, as in we landed with basic functionalities. Maybe personalization is for the future. But that's a challenge. Okay. Advanced use cases. As I showed you, geolocation you can do, but there's a bunch of other crazy cases that you can think of. Why shouldn't you do these things? And maybe you had statistics in university, or I suppose some of you had statistics in university. When is personalization effective? Like, how would you measure that this thing is actually working as expected? Okay, you can technically set it up. When is it successful? Would you have an idea or a proposal on when you have better conversions, or yeah? Yeah, so the combination of what you're saying is actually correct. So if you have better conversions, but you need many better conversions. If you go from 1% conversion to 1.1 and you spend 30,000 euros and your web shop only sells, I don't know, 500 euros a year, then it's not a good investment. In that sense, also, you can do crazy stuff with this, but you need a big enough amount of people coming on your website to optimize for that big enough amount. But if you segment, okay, you only have half of the people, and then you try to optimize for that half, only that, like 50% of that amount will actually maybe have better conversions, and then it gets tricky how to measure that. So that's an advanced case, but be careful in doing, to keep it simple, just change the title and see if that title only already leads to maybe improved visitor experience or whatever. And then there's also integrations, how to add stuff to the profile of the user from maybe your marketing automation. Maybe people use MailChimp, maybe some people not. Maybe some of you use HubSpot, some of you maybe use Mautic. I don't know what else is out there. Have you ever seen this image of marketing tools landscape with like 10,000 tools? And some of them have an API, and some of them use JSON, some of them use, I don't know, the these weird XML APIs from back in the days. How to integrate all of that into that profile, that's a challenge. You cannot just tell the customer, you have to use all of these tools. They probably already started with MailChimp, or maybe started with HubSpot, or maybe they have Microsoft Dynamics, or maybe they have something else. And then you need kind of, and this is what it's called, an integration hub. This is basically Zapier. Zapier is maybe familiar to you, but then the open source version of it. If you work in government space, then it's actually interesting to understand that everything could be on-premise, so that data doesn't leave a certain landscape. If you go to Zapier, you don't control if it actually goes, maybe Norway is fine, maybe somewhere else, you don't know. But all the data from your CRM, all the sensitive data goes somewhere there and then comes back. So this is also an advanced case. And you can actually combine this with Unomi. There's a Unomi plugin as well. You don't have to write Java plugins for Unomi to do this. So you can stick with these kind of tools. And then indeed, like what's also exists, and this was a bit out of scope for this presentation, is also an integration with Mautic, so that you have this all in one. I did a presentation before with a demo of Mautic as well, but I wanted to keep this a bit more on personalization. So you can see you can combine Unomi with Mautic, with Drupal, with N8N, and then you can actually claim you have your own digital experience platform. And you're competing with Adobe and with Sitecore. It sounds simple, it's not that simple, but I think you get what I'm saying. And then in terms of analytics, this is Google Analytics. From what we talked about with conversions and enough people, what you said, you can actually send these segments from Unomi to Google Analytics and then understand if this segment, for example, is actually leading to a lower conversion rate. So you know, without even changing something, already by identifying these segments, you know that this segment, this holiday person from like within Belgium in this case, has a significantly lower conversion rate. So then you know, I'm not trying to like optimize everybody. I'm actually trying to optimize that one group that is underperforming, which is also personalization. And this is interesting if you measure it. So step one, set it up. Step two, measure, and only then change. So also compatible with Matomo. All of these things are in JavaScript land, so not exclusive for Google Analytics. And then what we then get, we don't have this regular flow. We have website personalization and email personalization. We know who this customer is or who is visiting our website if he or she clicks yes. If it's no, then it's a single version. It's a static cache version. And then you can go crazy, do TV personalization, I don't know. So how can you do this yourself? I explained it more or less, but you can actually combine Mautic with Apache Unomi, with Drupal, the Unomi Drupal module. There's the Mautic form embedding module. Be careful, there's a Mautic module, which just adds the tracking script of Mautic. Then there's a Mautic paragraphs module that actually is layout builder compatible, but it just has the name paragraphs. And it allows you to embed these forms from Mautic. It's hard to change a module name on Drupal.org. Also with Composer and all that stuff, it's impossible. For example, the Solr personalization module has the S, which UK English. And then I found out that we actually have this convention that we should use US English, but I cannot change the name. It's, tricky. And then what we internally use at Dropsolid is the Rocketship Drupal distribution, which is the best practices of how we think one should do Drupal already set up. We have the cookie compliance module, which is based on the EU cookie compliance module. It's just also kind of a set of best practices on top that combines with Google Tag Manager that can also go to Unomi. Or you use CookieBot, but then again, it's just another tool in the marketing landscape that you have to combine with everything else. And then the Dropsolid platform that I showed you. And this is Dropsolid itself. So 9 years already with almost 90 people, maybe a bit more. Some of them also in Ukraine that unfortunately couldn't be here. So if they're on the live stream, say hello to them and then support them. And then, also partners on 3 continents in that sense. And thank you for the sponsors, Calibrate and Dropsolid, and everybody else that is or is not here. and stay in touch and let me know what you think about this session. And I'm happy to throw this box in your face now. Yeah. Any questions? You're ready to do personalization tomorrow.
You showed us the condition plugin. How do you set it up with Layout Builder?
It's actually compatible with Layout Builder, but there is a Drupal core patch that enables it for Layout Builder, the conditions. So in the demo of Umami, it's not working because Drupal core didn't commit the patch. But as soon as they do, the module is actually working as expected.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Anything else? Well, you know where to find. Oh, there's one. It's quite a distance. Oh, there's another one at the back.
The example that you saw was changing a block, but you can do, I mean, everything you want. Like, for example, let's say changing title, like an A/B test, or changing the visualization on entity, or
You can do
almost
anything. Yeah. So the only thing that comes into Drupal is a variation, and then there's a condition plugin, and then condition plugins are compatible with blocks and with nodes, and then in the future with stuff on the layout builder. But for example, if you have the rules module is also compatible with the conditions. It will be exactly the same, and then you can go crazy even with commas and whatnot. So indeed, it's not specific to something from the Unomi module. It makes that translation into the Drupal landscape. Okay. Careful of the laptops. Yeah. So
Test, yeah. Does Unomi have some automation to build segments, or is it manual work? So do you have to import new user data and put the user manually into a segment and build the rules like they filled in this form, so now they're in that segment? Or is there some sort of automation to do that? Or
So there's a rules API in Unomi, and you can say people from Belgium are now in segment Belgians. And then every person that comes in and identifies based on the IP address as Belgium will fall in that segment and will actually get back that response. The automation as in like, I have a bunch of data, tell me who is here and like auto segment something. Yeah, that's specific to the Dropsolid platform. That's what we built in support with Vlaio. Vlaio is the government organization for innovation. They basically paid Dropsolid go crazy. And that's what we did. And yeah, now I'm presenting this here. Yes. Oh, yeah, so
So you keep some data about the users inside of the Unomi, right?
yes.
How do you expose them if a person wants to like claim information about the data or wants to be forgotten?
That's a good question. Let me show it here. Boom. I think I have it here. Yeah, might not have it here, but yeah, in this case, so Unomi actually makes an API call to the personalization, as you see it here. Right now, it's not working. I think because I'm local, but the response set of Unomi is always the entire profile of that user. Where was the question? There, yeah, sorry. So if you want to expose what do you know about me, basically you make a single call to Unomi to say hi, and it will respond with the entire profile of you. The module itself doesn't expose this information yet, and it's a feature request. But basically, there's nothing stopping you from parsing that JSON and showing it nicely and have a page in the website, my profile, and without your name or any of that stuff, it just shows you what do I know about you. including your consents and all of that stuff. It's default behavior of Unomi, and you cannot disable it, as far as I understand, because also the segments and all that stuff is in that information. And you would assume it's you can know about you.
Yeah. Okay. And how can I exercise my rights to be forgotten? Can I also make like an API call against
Yeah,
the Unomi
so
to?
that's a bit specific. Bum, bum, bum. There is, the documentation is pretty horrible though. Where is it here? No, I don't want that. Oh my. Yeah, so if you find like 3 days to read this stuff, there is consent and getting updating consents. So you can actually send a new consent, as in like I no longer consent. And then there's actions, and that's another API within Unomi that says if you no longer consent, then these fields have to go. You can also change your consent to say I accept all to only marketing, and then you decide in terms of the type of the fields that you define, if they're sensitive or not. So based on that, you can retract your consent and also retract the data that you don't want. You can even go more crazy. You as you are able to single-handedly delete certain fields, as in like I no longer want this information about myself. That's all possible with these APIs. You do have to build some authentication, I think, perhaps if you want to go more crazy, but the basic consent management and just knowing what do you know about me is open. I think we're out of time, but if you have more questions about this, I'm happy to talk to you during the event or in the castle. I'll be there. I'll be everywhere anyway. And thank you for being here.